It started out like any other harmless game between friends. Laughter echoing through the room, teenage dares tossed like popcorn, and the charged electricity of a sleepover filled with secrets and silliness. But one moment, one decision would unravel all of that. We were at my friend's house, spending the night with a group of classmates. Nothing too big, just familiar faces, snacks scattered across the floor, and a circle of teenage curiosity trying to outdare each other into absurdity. Truth or dare, the game of testing limits. But in our group, we rarely chose truth. There wasn't much mystery left between us, so we dared, and dared again. Weird challenges, harmless embarrassments, a classic script. We were all playing our part. I was sitting next to my friend's brother, a guy I didn't know that well, but someone I'd been around just enough to feel comfortable being goofy with. When it was my turn, one of the girls, maybe trying to stir up a little tension, dared me to kiss him. Everything froze for a second. His sister, my friend, immediately cut in. "Change the dare," she told her. And she did. But here's where things get blurry. And looking back, I can't stop playing this moment over in my mind. Because he didn't say anything. He just laughed. And to me, that felt like permission. So I did it. I leaned in and kissed him. But as soon as it happened, the look on his face shifted. It wasn't a smile. It wasn't laughter. It was confusion, disgust. He pulled away and said, "What the hell are you doing?" My heart stopped. My brain scrambled. I thought it had been fine. I thought he was okay with it. But he looked violated. Like I'd just crossed a boundary I didn't even realize was there. And then I said something I still regret. I asked him why he was so grossed out. I said, "I'm actually a pretty okay-looking girl." As if that mattered. As if my appearance somehow justified what I had done. He got up and left the game. My friend followed. And when she came back, she didn't mince words. She told me I was wrong. On so many levels. And then she told me to leave. The room went silent. Nobody said anything. And I assumed that meant they were on my side. That they didn't want to get involved in the argument. That maybe they thought it wasn't that big of a deal. So I left. And then the self-doubt crept in. Had I done something terrible? Or was this all being blown out of proportion? That's when I went online. I created a throwaway account and posted my story on a subreddit I'd seen others use. Am I the asshole? I explained everything. The dare, the laugh, the kiss, his reaction, and how I felt. Hurt, confused, rejected. But I also asked for something unusual. I didn't want people commenting if they thought I was in the wrong. I asked them to DM me instead if they thought I was the asshole. I was afraid my friend might find the post. I didn't want more embarrassment, more shame, more judgment. I just wanted quiet answers. But that's not how the internet works. And it's not how accountability works either. The comment section exploded, and the verdict was unanimous. Yes, I was the asshole. Not because I meant harm, but because I crossed a line I didn't even bother to see. Comment after comment hammered home the same point. Silence is not consent. Laughter is not consent. Not saying no is not the same as saying yes. And most damning of all, the dare had already been changed. There was no reason, no justification, no excuse for what I did. One commenter said, "You put him in a position where he either had to go along with it or be the one to make a scene. That's not consent. That's pressure." Another said, "If a boy had kissed you during truth or dare without your permission, and then acted offended when you didn't like it, how would you feel?" And suddenly, It hit me. Not just the embarrassment, not just the public shame, but the weight of what I had done. I kissed someone without their consent, and when they showed me, it hurt them. I made it about me. That wasn't just immature, that was selfish, that was wrong. My edits to the post only made things worse. I kept asking people not to comment. I messaged the moderators, hoping they could hide the backlash. I tried to protect myself from the consequences instead of owning them. But the more I tried to control the narrative, the more I realized I couldn't. And maybe I shouldn't. Because this wasn't about protecting my ego. It was about facing what I'd done. There's a truth I've learned in all of this, and it's one I'll never forget. Being a good person isn't about being attractive, or well-liked, or having friends who stay silent when things go wrong. Being a good person is about respecting boundaries. It's about listening before you act. And it's about knowing that consent is not a gray area. It is a clear, affirmative, enthusiastic yes. Anything else is a no. So now I sit with this question, one that I posted hoping for validation, but instead got a mirror. So, am I the asshole? Yeah, I was. But I don't want that to be where the story ends, because we don't get to rewrite our past, but we do get to learn from it, and maybe become someone better because of it. This is AITA Story Vault, and here's my final reflection. There's something heartbreakingly human about this story. A teenage girl, maybe insecure, maybe trying to impress her friends, crosses a line she doesn't fully understand. And when called out, she panics. Not because she's evil, but because shame is heavy, and it blinds us. But shame is not the enemy. Ignorance is. And the cure for ignorance is hard truth, spoken with care. This story reminds us that consent doesn't care about gender, or intention, or attractiveness. It only cares about agency, about choice. We're living in a world where the conversation about boundaries is finally being taken seriously. But that means we all have to look at ourselves, not just the villains in the news. We all make mistakes. But the real question is, when the mirror is held up, will we look away? Or will we learn? And maybe, just maybe, be brave enough to say, I was wrong, but I won't stay that way. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of a time you were silent, or a time you wish someone had asked, share your thoughts in the comments, because these conversations matter, and someone out there might need to hear what you have to say.